Welcome back to the Here's the Storm Open Division. I am Bahamut, one of the hosts this evening. I am joined by InanimateJ. I was doing that all today, and I was like, don't screw it up when you first introduce them, and of course I do it. But I'm joined by InanimateJ. How are you doing this evening? Are you ready for the first week of the Open Division?
I'm good, and to be honest, you sounded a little bit better than telemarketers trying to pronounce my real name, so I'm completely okay with that. But no, I'm good. It's the holiday Monday up here in Canada, so I haven't had to do anything today except grocery shopping and all those other fun adult things. But I'm ready to get back into it. Open Division firing up again. I'm really excited to see which teams are going to come out and go towards the Crucible at the end of the summer.
Now, have you been catching any of the European games that were earlier this morning? I know it is. Well, first off, Happy Canada Day, if I have it right. If that's
Yes.
The actual name of the holiday, right? Okay.
Yes.
Did you catch any of the European games this morning?
I missed them actually. I was watching the World Cup. Which,
oh, that's fine. That's fine. I mean,
a little bit more gripping, but I did catch a little bit of one of the games. Did catch a little bit of one of the games this morning, but
it was
not managed to watch them all the way through.
It was really interesting because I was kind of listening, I was working, and I was I'd catch some bits of the fights or like a whole stint of the game, and the things that that they were coming up with into this meta that we're currently sitting in, and Grubby and Tetra were saying it a lot that they're hitting on this burst meta, and we are seeing a lot of that. But at the same time, we're seeing a lot of teams that last season were really, really, really strong, and they're starting to kind of fall to these teams that are really new, or they came through Heroes Lounge. And on the note of Heroes Lounge being in EU, we have the Nexus Gaming Series in North America, and going through the list of teams that are going to play tonight, and I was also looking at players. I can, as a caster from there, I definitely see a lot of recurring players, coming over from there in the off season for them. So this is really, really exciting to see that you have these like smaller amateur leagues. You're starting to get some of the players from there, and then you're also getting them to, show up and really be strong into some of these teams that established themselves last season, at least in EU.
Yeah, that's really not surprising. Is you see a lot more teams getting serious, a lot more players getting serious with this clear path of advancement, of development through the Open Division into the HGC Pro Division. So the amateur scene is critical at that juncture, because you need that regular practice. You need the ability to develop both as a player and as a team unit, getting into these bigger competitions to be able to work towards that ultimate goal. And I think that's the one thing that you're going to see more of as we get further and further along in the life cycle of HGC. Is you're going to see a lot more teams really coming out of these amateur tournaments and getting themselves on a good run in Open Division and fighting their way into the Crucible.
And that's the big thing too, is I really like that we have the opportunity, and in both regions, you have this off season of, pro-am play where it's a community run aspect. And then you have this, I guess you could say, like main season for the Open Division where it's, it still is pro-am, but it's an elevated, and that's what I really like about it is anyone can join. You can literally sign up 5 members. They don't look at, like, for example, when you play in some of these other leagues, I know you get sorted by MMR and there's an overall kind of hierarchy and how they kind of put you in divisions. Here it's just like you sign up, you play some games, and you see how it goes. But at the same time, it's a great place. Like, you can go into these games and you might be mashed up into a team that is going to dominate you. But the thing is, you can come out from these games and go back to those VODs and even watch, what we cast of the teams, or like sit and watch it with your own team and, learn like, oh, well, this team, like they made these rotations. We've never thought of doing that. So you definitely can come into the Open Division, and you may not be looking to make it all the way into HGC, but you definitely can take a lot away from that's offered in this situation. And I really, really do love what it kind of provides for the community, as well as for people looking to make this a career.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one biggest thing in any esport, regardless of genre, whether it's something like Call of Duty, whether it's Counter-Strike, whether it's Heroes, whether it's Rocket League, everything that you want to look at and get better at is always going to be contained in that replay, because you only see it a small fraction of the game around you from your own perspective. It's not until you go and really boil it down, see the entire map, see everything that happens from every different angle, that you can kind of understand how a decision went a certain way and how it could have gone a different way after that. And I think it's a lot of things that people that are newer to esports, especially if they haven't come out of, say, competitive sports in the real world, that ability of self-improvement in going through your mistakes and really going back over them, running them back, running the tape. It's literally running a replay is like running tape. in physical sports, because you sit there, you rewind, and you see what that decision was and how it affected everything else that cascaded, beyond that decision. And I think that's one skill that if anybody needs to learn to really improve is to be I'm struggling to find the words, but it's self-introspective, really, is being able to look at yourself and go, you know what, I made this decision wrong, and I can probably make it better, and then figure out how you can make it better.
And that's, you can take so much away from this, and it's, some teams, they'll come into this and they'll be like, well, we got bodied, it's not for us. But it's just like, well, I remember like when I first started playing competitive, like a long time ago, we played into a team. We did a scrim, and the guy we did like a coaching session, and the guy was like, I'm going to put you with my team who plays at a higher echelon and is really like looking to eventually, work their way into pro somehow. And so they bodied us. But the thing is, we went back and we looked at the VODs, and they were like, all right, well, see how you made this rotation with like Falstead. You could have, flown in, and you could have set yourself up for maybe a gust to help out the team. Or, you guys all put yourself on one of the altars on Towers of Doom instead of, maybe splitting off and poking at one and playing around. So you definitely can pull a little bit away. It's just really, I guess, how much you want to invest it in yourself too, because you have to sit there and grind that time. You have to, make sure that you're understanding and learning things from this, because you can watch it and, not really take anything away from it, except that like, well, we lost. Like it's really kind of how much you want to break down and look, and you said it perfectly, introspectively into finding out what you're going to be getting. But let's go ahead. We're going to talk a little bit closer about this game. We're getting our lobby set up here. It's this little bit of a slow roll as we get into this first matchup here. We are going to be casting OSD versus CCC, Triple C. I guess we can do. I don't know if do you know if they have a full name, or if it's just because on the website it's Triple C for me too.
Yeah, I could not tell you if they had a full name. I can tell you that OSD is Order of the Sleeping Dragon, which might be one of the coolest team names in the Open Division right now. Looking at the map bans, no real surprise between these ones. Braxis banned out, Sky Temple banned out, and OSD taking map pick. They will be taking us to Dragon Shire, a staple of the competitive meta for a long time here. Very important to be on point with rotations. Global heroes having a lot of value with trying to travel between the two control points on the map. And it'd be really interesting to see what kind of meta we're going to see as far as the draft goes.
It really just... Yeah, because it's really going to depend on how they're going to want to play it. Do they want to play it in the kind of macro play, or do you want to play it in the micro play where they're going to be making the rotations and just looking for picks in between these lanes and just kind of having top sit on its own? Or do you really lean into that global aspect where we see a lot of like Dahaka and we see some Falstead, not so much Brightwing, but maybe some Abathur here and there, and in a sense kind of globalish, might be a little bit of a stretch there, but we definitely have a lot of good options here going into this map. And I get so excited, especially, I mean, it's the Open Division, it's the first game. I'm super pumped that I'm going to be following a team that I've casted in the past before, and I can already see that they're already excited in chat, and there's already people in chat cheering for them. So this is going to be really, really excited to have, some pro-am teams from the community going up against. To be honest, I'm looking at a lot of these names on the side of Triple C, and they're not looking any. One's kind of familiar, but it's like I can't put it to like a team or anything I've casted in the past.
Yeah, more than me. I will be guilty of only kind of popping in and out casually between the pro-am scene and things like that. I mean, my main esports focus is on Rocket League, but I do like Heroes quite a bit. I've been playing the game for quite a long time, and it's actually really cool to be able to come out and get involved in the casting scene, having watched the original pro scene for Heroes really kind of develop out of the ESL tournaments of old, watching Kaldor for the longest time, just casting those tournaments, solo grinding for so long, and Grubby as well. And those two guys as casters, big idols of mine. Kaldor especially was one of the biggest reasons I got into casting, was the way he was able to kind of present Heroes as a nascent esport originally.
And that's, I remember like literally having to, do you remember the days of like going onto the Liquipedia to like dig and find out when the games were going to be happening? Because that was the thing. It was just like, when's the next HGC or like any sort of like Heroes event? And you'd find like these like little cups that were run through ESL, or just like something that was run, like for example, like the early days, I think of like Bloodlust, like those tournaments, self-funded, self kind of promoted. And definitely, you know, did a lot for the scene. But let's go ahead. Let's get into this, as we will be getting into our first game in this best of 3 between OSD and Triple C. Triple C is going to be going ahead and banning out that Garrosh.
Yeah, Garrosh, a very strong frontliner, a lot of utility, a really devastating kit when you look at positioning and how it can be a bit of a struggle sometimes at the Pro-Am level, as teams really kind of get a sense of how punishing certain heroes can be when you kind of step out over that line of conflict, essentially the line of scrimmage, really. And Garrosh is great at punishing that. The throw, the groundbreaker, very good tools in either repositioning or just punishing heroes that get a little bit out of line. OSD taking Genji off the board, no big surprise there. The cybernetic assassin, really, really good at finishing off backlines and just being a general pain on any composition.
The mobility that you get from Genji and the poke and the kind of the finishing blows that you can bring out with that is a huge asset. And I really like that, the fact that they're taking that out. But we're going to have Triple C going for this Diablo pick right out the gate. And you had talked about it with the Garrosh, but Diablo still has, you know, you've got to respect the range in a sense. And, you know, you got to make sure that you're respecting, does Diablo have that overpower shadow charge? And is he going to peel you from your team? Or is he going to be going in and, you know, are they going to be brawling into you? But on the note of that, we have the Dahaka and a Malfurion to kind of shut this down a little bit. Diablo goes out too far. You got the roots. You've got Dahaka to get the tongue drag, pull a member too far away. I like this as the response, as well as a global aspect for them to kind of consider here on the side of Triple C.
Yeah, it's a great healer to go in against. A Diablo has the ability to lock him down. Dahaka as well, a well-placed tongue. As soon as Diablo comes in with the shadow charge, before he can get the overpower, just snap the tongue off. Requires a little bit of a mechanical skill to pull off, but it's a great way to shut him down and just really get in his face. This kind of forces Diablo to play a little bit more passively. He can't really get that dive in and then do the overpower because he doesn't get that reset until level 16. So you can't kind of do the hit and run where you charge in, flip him over the back, charge back out. It's a lot harder to get that done when you have the kind of tool set that OSD's picked up right away, because Malfurion can just root him to the spot, and if the rest of the comp is on board, they can just kind of collapse in, really just, you know, kill Diablo before he can do anything there. But I love the Stukov pick-off. It goes so well with Diablo, and Phoenix bringing the laser beams from the back line.
So the Phoenix to kind of go in there, you've got some splash damage, you've got some really, really good setup. I'm going to assume it will be the Purification Salvo with that. It pairs well into the Stukov as well as the Diablo, as you noted. Now, I am kind of peeking over at Twitch chat. I am seeing that someone's pointing out, I was saying that I don't know anyone on the side of Triple C, but it looks like it's actually Sith Lordson is one of the players from Buffalo, the Buffalo Dorm team, and apparently he's a Gul'dan god. So we might see maybe a respect ban or something. Nope. We might even see it being picked up, but we'll find out here, as we do have the Maya being banned out by Order of the Sleeping Dragon, and then a Tracer in response.
I like the Maya ban. The Tracer ban, I'm not quite sure with. Tracer, I feel like, probably wasn't going to be the greatest pick into a couple of the heroes right now. Phoenix, with the auto attacks, has a really good way of at least dealing damage to Tracer. Stukov, not the best healer against a Tracer, so I can understand that. It might have been really a ban just to kind of preempt anything further on in the composition. Maiev, not a big surprise there. Tons of CC, tons of escape abilities with, you know, the Spirit of Vengeance being able to get in, get out. Yep. The Warden's Vault as well. Just so many ways that she can be really annoying as a hero to play against. So no surprise to see that banned off. And actually, one thing I'm curious about, noting the PTR notes, is how much the game is going to change when they add that third ban in, because that's actually live on the PTR now. It's going through testing already. So the double ban before anybody picks it's going to change, I think, a lot of the way teams approach.
Absolutely.
The bans and really just the picks in the meta.
I think taking out two heroes at the start, you can really limit the pools, especially if you no longer need to give up like a target ban. So you can be like, all right, well, we're going to run this. We don't want to deal with the Stukov down the line, so we can take that out of there. But then we know this one person's a God Gul'dan, for example, so we'll take that out also. So you can definitely, as you said it, you kind of said it perfectly. The meta will evolve a little bit differently, because we're going to maybe start seeing some target stuff, or maybe some compositions actually get formed way before, like in the earlier half of the draft, where in the past we've seen, kind of the start. You have, for example, right here, this is a perfect example. We have Dahaka Malfurion, healer, solo laner, and then on the right hand side we have the Stukov Diablo and the Phoenix. Now, it doesn't show a whole lot of their drafts, but it definitely kind of opens up doors for both teams. As we get these last 2 picks, though, on the side of Triple C, they need a solo laner as well as some extra damage. That Gul'dan doesn't sound horrible, and I kind of like the idea of maybe false into that Dahaka.
We'll see as the timer clicks down to 0. It'll be Jaina and Arthas, and that to me screams that Phoenix is going to play the solo lane with the ability to hit the AoE waves. Falstad coming in, so a lot of globals on the side of OSD here. I like the Muradin. The Greymane, I'm not 100% sure of. Greymane into Stukov feels just a little bit wonky to me with the ability to get silenced by the lurking arm, but I've seen it work in the past, so we'll just see if the damage is enough to get through Stukov's AoE burst healing, which is really underrated, I think, in a lot of cases. It really kind of came out to play in the pro scene meta over the weeks and leading into the Western Clash, I think it was. We started to see a lot more Stukov play coming out, and especially afterwards with the burst healing versus some of the other healing options available, like the Malfurion, really, and you know, to a lesser extent, Uther. Uther, I feel like, has really fallen off in a lot of cases, and I'm not surprised by that, because cooldown based healing like that is really hard to make work in this kind of meta.
It's you know, he can't be really picked too early, and he's, I wouldn't say situational, but he works with certain drafts, I think, a little bit stronger. So it's some situations you'll see him like Genji, etc. Oh yeah, I'll see a lot of Uther, but you know, otherwise, yeah, you're kind of right. It is a little difficult to kind of get that good old healing. But let's go ahead, let's get into this. On the left hand side, we're going to be having OSD with Silent Shoe going to be on the Greymane, Corgi Booty going to be on the Muradin, Trinth going to be on the Malfurion, Enigmatic going to be on the Falstad, and rounding it out with Manby going to be on the Dahaka.
On the right is Triple C, Daeun on the Stukov, Formal Hot on the Arthas, Yogurt playing Diablo, Seth Lordson on the Phoenix, and Watcher will be playing Jaina.
To get into this, we're going to be having all of Triple C going into the mid lane, but OSD is going to be changing out their start here. They actually have 3 set up in this bush, so we got to be a little bit quiet for them, but we also have the 2 global aspects here. We have the Falstad in the mid and the Dahaka in the bottom, so they're like, we don't need to fight at the start of this. We're just going to let Falstad get the stacks that he wants, and you'll come to us, but maybe they'll just catch someone in the rotation at the top.
Yeah, I feel like that was the plan, but they could see the Arthas at top lane, Greymane going up, just get that body soaked. You see the Muradin rotation, and they're looking for that early pick, but Formalhot's still mounted, didn't get off, just gets hit by that Stormbolt, but no harm, no foul. The Bush meta going a little bit the way of nothing happening, and it's interesting to see teams with these little different early strats rather than, you know, run 5 down mid like you see in Quick Match and unranked draft. Everybody just loves to do. It's neat to see the little kind of tactics that teams try to do to get a little bit of an early experience lead through that early pick.
I really do like that. You know, changing it up, kind of throwing off your enemy team, just like, oh wait, why aren't they in mid? Like, why aren't they showing up and fighting us? But you know, changing it up, it works out. At this time, we have a little bit more of an experience value in favor for Triple C here, but we are going to have the 2 camps almost simultaneously picked up. Those will be going down into bottom lane as both shrines are going to be activatable right now. Dahaka already positioned in top lane, while bottom looks like it will be where we're going to have most of the contest. Arthas going to be rotating up there. That's going to be a nice fight between these 2, but we're looking at bottom where we're going to have probably the most fights.
As the Sea Giants starting to go back and forth with one another. You can see that skirmish right at the top there around the tree line as Corgi Booty and Yogurt trying to fight over the front line there. It's really just a lot of early skirmishing, but you got to get the sense right now that the advantage is on the side of OSD. With the Greymane, the front line that they have with the Muradin and Dahaka, they have the ability to just stay back, don't really need to get out of position against the Diablo, against the Phoenix that can kind of duck in, duck out. And with Jaina at mid poking Falstad, there isn't a lot of poke on the side of Triple C in that bottom lane. So they're having a really tough time trying to get any damage in and look for the finish here in these skirmishes.
I really, really like the play. I got to shout out to Yogurt here, just doing the body blocking and also having the lurking arm out from Daeun and just, you know, being able to still manipulate the Muradin and keep them in that silence for a very long time. But Yogurt falling a little bit low here. Stukov not in the best spot. Gonna need to back off. Gonna spread that puzzle as Watcher rotates down. Corgi Booty a little bit low. Gonna get some damage out, but Jaina won't be securing the kill just yet as Trinth is getting a little bit low here. A lot of damage gonna be coming out, but that is gonna be the Malfurion getting out with just about 100 health.
Great placement by Watcher on the Blizzard there, just zoning out Trinth and Silent as they tried to retreat past the wall, and that left them no option but to take damage as the rest of the group down there on the skirmish came in looking for the kill. Couldn't confirm it there as Seth Lordson on the Phoenix just wasn't able to get 1 or 2 more auto attacks in on Trinth on that Malfurion. So they stay 3v3 in the bottom. Jaina rotating up back to mid to deal with the Falstead there for a moment, get that XP, and then come back down, really try to force the bottom here, looking for Corgi Booty on the flank here. Trying to get around the back, will get into the back line. Silent Shoe, though, melting in the Blizzard. He'll be first blood of the game as Greymane goes down to the auto attack, but how much damage did he eat in that Blizzard inside the bush there?
Took so much damage, but they had a drag going on to Watcher here as the Jaina falling so extremely low. They die for that kill. Murden's going to be dying here. We have the burrow from Nanby, but it won't be enough as Sith Lord Sun will be going ahead, confirming that kill. Top lane looks like it's going to be a little bit of a fight between Enigmatic and Formal Hot, but I think overall this should go for Arthas. They're going to be able to push that Falstad off, and this should be first Dragon Knight of the game going over to Triple C. Yeah,
this really came down to getting caught in that bush for OSD. The Greymane just getting absolutely melted in the bush with that Jaina Blizzard. The body blocking from Diablo. Yogurt doing a great job with the aggressive Diablo positioning, able to keep the target for the collapse in a spot there. And it results in the first Dragon Knight here. But, with the experience changes in recent patches, opening up the map, you don't get that huge snowball experience lead. They're up a level right now from the kills and the structures, but they still won't really get a big lead towards trying to really snowball this into, a one-way street. There's going to be a lot of room for OSD to defend this.
They've also got that double global aspect. We need to consider that. Into the later half of the game, that's going to be a huge threat for Triple C to really need to deal with. This early game, when the levels are low, yeah, we're going to see some of this bunching here. They're going to need to kind of just work on getting their, just getting the experience up and looking for those tenses. Enigmatic is taking a lot of damage. Sound's going to be coming out from the Stukov, but they go ahead and body them, and that will be Stukov falling here. OSD trying to bring it back, but it looks like Triple C is going to go ahead, just back off. Arthas going to be in that top lane, pushing that up. Falstad going to get that flight right up there just to make sure they don't get too much push, as it looks like there's about a level disparity between these two, but OSD is trying to close that gap and get close to 10.
So Enigmatic going in real aggressive, looking for a little bit more damage on the Arthas. Not quite enough to really threaten there is the Formal Hunt on the Arthas. Plenty of hit points to work with, but just enough timing, I think, with the wave to close the XP gap. You can see how that 1 level lead is already down to only about a half level lead as OSD closing in on 9, but that big heroic tier level 10 looming real large for Triple C right now as they get set for the next phase.
And that won't be too far off. I think the Dragon Knight has about a 1 minute 30-second counter once it dies, but this is going to be 10s achieved by the members of Triple C here as Yogurt is set up in this bush. Rest of the team needs to make a long rotation, but this camp is still being worked on. Corgi Booty kind of anchoring for them as Yogurt moves in, the rest of the team backing off. They know they can't fight this because the 10s are available. Corgi Booty not in the best spot, and they get the Dwarf tossed over. Watcher not going to get the kill as they're looking to get that Malfurion. Corgi Booty coming in the backline, Cleanse goes out, and it looks like they're all going to get out of here just fine as Falstad gets some poke damage in as well.
I feel like that was an opportunity lost for Triple C to really press their level 10 advantage. You could see the DPS tunneling in on the support, focusing on Trent in that backline, but it allowed Corgi Booty, who was basically one hit at that point, to get away, and you have to wonder if that was maybe a communication issue that Yogurt, who had done so well, depositioning Corgi Booty in that backline, really isolating the front line for OSD, just not calling out how low Corgi Booty was, and getting a Jaina Frostbolt through the bushes looking for that snipe kill.
Yep. They were going for the support, and I do understand that, but it's one of those things that, like, yeah, if there's a low member, you definitely need to swap priority. As Corgi Booty getting pushed in once again, Phoenix is doing quite a bit of damage. They get the slow and the silence out. Not going to be enough for the kill, but they're really pressuring this bottom 4, and that's a huge asset for Triple C. If they can take that out, it's going to be really difficult for them to kind of sustain down there on the side of OSD, as Formal Hot is going to be doing an easy job 2v1ing, and they're going to be losing the Murden in bottom lane.
Yeah, Yogurt coming out of nowhere, and that's the thing that you have to respect about Diablo sometimes, is the range on the Shadow Charge. It was buffed in his rework. It's not as long as it was with the original talent, but it's still not nothing. And so he was able to come in from out of nowhere in the backline. Enigmatic with that big dive over the front for the gust back of Formal Hot. Not quite enough damage, though, to do anything here, and there's the rotation. from the rest of Triple C as Daeun with that arm pushing Dahaka Mandy all the way back to silence, and there's the kill as he tries to dig his way out of trouble. And that is a perfect rotation by Triple C here as they march towards 13 and another Dragon Knight.
I gotta say, they're set up for it. Now, OSD, they can try and poke at this. They definitely have the ability to, but Yogurt is like, no, we'll just use my Shadow Charge, put some distance between this, and make sure that we get the second Dragon Knight here. And, you know, looking back on it, that Gust, I don't know if that was worth it, you know, from that Arthas, who just literally popped Arm of the Undead and just was like, I'll wait for my team. And then, you know, they lose the Dahaka. Now, death timers aren't that long. Dahaka is back at this time, but that is still the Dragon Knight, and 13's going over to Triple C. OSD's going to need to turtle up a little bit here and try their best to at least poke out at this. Maybe they can get a flank on a kill. They are technically separated, but they're splitting themselves here just to make sure they don't get too much value with that Dragon Knight on the side of Triple C.
The interesting thing is Stukov is in the Dragon Knight for Triple C, so there's no lurking arm in this skirmish here. The 4v3 at the top is OSD doing a great job defending it. The fort is still standing, but for how much longer, you have to wonder with that lane pushed in far. Still 4 members of Triple C sitting on. You can see now with the rotation down, OSD abandoning this fort. They're probably going to lose their whole front line of structure in this push as the mid fort is hanging on by a literal thread after being beat on by that Dragon Knight for so long.
Corgi Booty gonna be in a bad spot, but that Gust came out, and that was exactly what they needed. Pushing them back, making sure Corgi Booty can get out of here, but we're gonna have the Water Elemental doing a little bit of damage, and I really like that play. It's one of those things that we've seen kind of popping up more, especially on Dragon Shire here, this Water Elemental utilizing that almost a 6th member in the fight to have that extra damage, and it's really, really becoming powerful. We noted a little bit of stuff on the PTR today, and I kind of, you know, I'm excited to see how Rainer's Raider works like that way, but we do have a huge Lightning Breath going to be coming out and just zoning so many members away. They're going to go ahead and steal away the siege camp. This is a little risky, though.
And I'm not really worried about it if I'm a Triple C fan. I've got 13. My Diablo just sat there, ate a bunch of Chipotle, and breathed fire all over the members of OSD trying to defend that camp. And really, there was almost no contest on that from OSD. They just sat there and waited for that to happen. They can defend the camp. They can kill the camp. They've got the fall side. They've got the wave clear to defend the camp. They don't need to take the fight. It's really better to just let them know they're there, make sure that they know where they are on the map, and then focus on getting 13 there. Man, the reinvade on the backside as all of OSD went in and took out Jane on that camp.
That's the kind of plays that I'm expecting out of OSD here. That's what they really need to do, and that's their best way to close these gaps, is just to really make these hard rotations, get someone who's maybe just a little out of position because of, you know, the dominance in a sense that they've had on this map. Being able to take Jaina out with the 10-second death timer, pushing into this bottom lane is huge for them. I noted a little bit, actually, Yogurt going a little deep here, gonna get stunned by the Storm Bolt. Not going to have any follow-up damage, but the one thing I was going to note really quickly is taking out the bottom fort as well as the top fort, it's so hard to sustain in the lane as the solo laner or even as the 4-member group because you don't have a well to tap, you don't have a fort to retreat to for safety. So, you know, you can be chased extremely far out into your lane and still get killed, and, you know, you'll lose over the Dragon Shire. Whereas, you know, Triple C, they can just go right behind their gate at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think OSD need to focus on in the next level or so. Their window to keep a team fight going is closing with every passing wave of minions that Triple C are able to clear. You can see that experience bar getting ever closer to 16, and you have to know that as soon as it does, Triple C are going to press that advantage with Diablo, with the reset on the Shadow Charge after the overpower. You see him diving in there, still not quite on that reset, so he's not able to really get that displacement open. Here comes the engage, Lightning Breath in, Corgi Booty in the backline trying to disrupt it, big Twilight Dream, and there's the Gust as well, but immediate response from every member of Triple C. It's pure chaos as there's damage everywhere. Stukov the first to fall, but an immediate return kill by Diablo on the Grey Mane, and OSD in full retreat as 16's hit for Triple C.
Another one will be falling here as Dahaka will go down. They're chasing this further. They've got 2 kills. They've lost their Stukov, yes, but they want blood here on the side of Triple C. Corgi Booty going to try and turn on Formal Heart, but it doesn't look like they'll go too far here as the Dragon Knight is potentially available for the members of Triple C here. They're going to need to rotate someone into the top lane as well as in the mid, but otherwise they're set up for the 3rd Dragon Knight of the game. And at this point, Jay, I think they could potentially go for keep.
Definitely, if they're able to win this quickly enough. Dahaka coming back in 6 seconds or so will probably have something to say about that. Stukov already back online. but there isn't a lot of lane pressure outside of a couple of minions in the bottom lane. You can see Triple C right now going for this night camp in the bottom lane, and that's going to be the presence they need in the lane to really look for a keep on this push. You can see OSD right now. They know the Shrine is going to be the focal point of this next fight, but they're still down a talent tier, half a level back from 16, and I feel like Dahaka is going to be pivotal in getting them to that talent level, but they have to make sure they don't lose a member here as Yogurt looking for Enigmatic, pushing him back on the Shrine.
It looks like at this point, Dahaka will be able to stall out top long enough. There was another member up there for a second. Some infighting between these two teams. As Watcher's looking for Trimp here, gonna get some poke damage. They're gonna continue to chase, and this is what I was noting about not having a fort. Look at the rotation that they can make. Lightning Breath will be coming out. The stasis will be just ending, and it won't be enough as they do get the kill, and that also will be the Stukov falling in response to a 1-for-1 trade. But Greyman's gonna be going down as well from the Purification Salvo. And it looks like Enigmatic will be falling as well. Stasis gonna be coming out from the Jaina, but I don't think that'll be enough. And actually, I need to eat my own words as they get another kill. Dahaka, the only surviving member left. They rotate someone in mid. They've got Phoenix going to top. This is going to be the next Dragonite for the member. Oh, the play from Manby.
Oh, he hearthed before he got the capture on it. The valuable seconds that he ends up losing on that one. I understand the need to hearth, but you're not having those extra seconds to potentially bring your team back while they grab the shrines there. I think that's a little bit of an opportunity lost, but you had to get back and defend. Losing that bottom wall on the keep is going to be probably pivotal in this push. Every member back up for Triple C. Muradin just respawning for OSD now, and I think you're right, Bahamut. They're going to go for keep with this push.
Was it just me, or was Arthas like struggling a little bit to channel the Dragonite? It was like
I didn't want to say anything because I didn't really want to call him out, but it looked like he might have misclicked a couple of times.
I was like, are you gonna get the Dragonite? Because I'm just like, are you going, or what are you doing? I thought they were maybe trying to. They had some delay tactic. I'm like, what are the? Maybe they were trying to pair it well with the siege camp bottom. Who knows? They've got a push going onto this bottom lane keep. They want catapult pressure as soon as possible. 16-19. This is where OSD's got to take the fight, but it looks like Diablo's going to be diving in. They're going to shred the Greyman as the Purification Salve will be coming out, connecting onto Corgi Booty here, pushing them further back. But without that Greyman, they've lost a lot of damage here, and they're going to need to back off and play this a lot safer. Jay.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about in the draft, about the Diablo. Once you get to level 16, you've got that ability to dive in with impunity and just grab somebody who's even a couple of pixels out of position and just force them even further. Big disengage with the gust there from Enigmatic, but it won't matter. Triple C's got the core at 10% and falling. 3, 2, 1, and that is game one in favor of Triple C. Didn't even reach level 20 in that one.